Maya's knees hit the wet concrete at the exact moment her water broke. The rain had been falling for 3 hours, soaking through the thin jacket she'd grabbed on her way out the door her husband had slammed in her face after throwing her belongings into the street. Now, at 9 months pregnant, alone on a sidewalk in Manhattan's financial district at 11 p.m., Maya felt the unmistakable warm rush and knew with terrible certainty that her baby was coming. Not in a hospital with doctors and clean sheets. Here, in the rain, on a street corner where people walked past without looking, where her cries for help dissolved into the sound of traffic and thunder. "Please," she gasped, trying to push herself up, but her body wouldn't cooperate. The contractions were coming fast, too fast, and she couldn't remember how far apart they were supposed to be before she needed to panic. "Somebody help me, please." A businessman in an expensive coat stepped around her, phone pressed to his ear, eyes fixed ahead like she was just another obstacle to navigate. A couple crossed the street to avoid her entirely, the woman clutching her purse tighter. Maya's vision blurred. Rain or tears, she couldn't tell anymore. Her hands pressed against her swollen belly, where her daughter was trying to enter a world that had already shown them both nothing but cruelty. "This is how we die," Maya thought with devastating clarity. "Both of us. Right here. Forgotten." Then a car stopped. Not slowed down. Stopped. Completely. In the middle of the street with hazard lights flashing and the driver's door flying open before the engine even cut off. A man ran toward her through the rain. Tall. Dark hair plastered to his face. Wearing a suit that probably cost more than the apartment Maya no longer had access to. His eyes were the color of storm clouds and they locked onto her with an intensity that made everything else, the rain, the pain, the fear, fade for just a moment. "I've got you," he said, already pulling off his jacket to shield her from the rain. His voice carrying the kind of absolute certainty that made you believe impossible things. "You're going to be okay. Both of you. I promise." Maya tried to speak, to warn him that she was in labor, that her water had broken, that everything was happening too fast. But another contraction ripped through her and all that came out was a sound she didn't recognize as her own. The man didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms like she weighed nothing, like carrying a pregnant woman through a rainstorm was something he did every day, and ran back to his car. "My name is Adrian," he said as he settled her into the passenger seat, his hands gentle despite his obvious urgency. "Adrian Cole. I'm taking you to Columbia Presbyterian. 7 minutes from here. Can you hold on for 7 minutes?" Maya nodded, unable to form words, unable to process that this was real, that someone had actually stopped. Adrian was back in the driver's seat, the car already moving, his phone pressed between his shoulder and ear. "This is Adrian Cole. I need Dr. Sarah Mitchell in the ER in 5 minutes. I'm bringing in a woman in active labor. No, I don't know her medical history. Yes, I'm aware of protocols. Make it happen anyway." He said his name like it meant something, like it carried weight. Maya would find out later that Adrian Cole wasn't just rich. He was one of the 10 wealthiest men in America. A reclusive billionaire who'd made his fortune in technology and real estate, who donated wings to hospitals but never attended the dedication ceremonies, who could make things happen with a single phone call because half of New York either owed him favors or feared his influence. But in that moment, all Maya knew was that someone had stopped. Someone had seen her. Someone was saving her life and her daughter's life without asking questions or demanding explanations. "What's your name?" Adrian asked, his eyes flicking between her and the road as he navigated traffic like a man who'd grown up driving in New York. "Maya," she managed between contractions. Maya Santos. Maya, that's beautiful. I'm going to get you to the hospital. You're going to have your baby in a clean room with doctors and everything you need. I need you to keep breathing. Can you do that for me? She nodded, focusing on his voice, on the certainty in it, on the fact that someone cared enough to use her name. Good. You're doing so well. Your baby is lucky to have you fighting this hard. The words broke something in Maya. Her husband had told her that morning that she was worthless, that the baby was probably not even his, that he'd wasted 3 years on a woman who'd trapped him with a pregnancy and brought nothing to the marriage but neediness and failure. He'd thrown her out with nothing but the clothes on her back and $47 in her purse while his girlfriend, younger, prettier, not swollen with pregnancy, had smirked from the doorway of what used to be Maya's home. And now this stranger was telling her she was doing well, that her baby was lucky. Thank you, Maya whispered. Thank you for stopping. No one else. Another contraction cut off her words. Everyone else is an idiot, Adrian said firmly, and they should be ashamed of themselves. He pulled up to the emergency entrance where Dr. Mitchell and a full medical team were already waiting with a wheelchair and a gurney. Someone had called ahead. Someone had made sure everything was ready. As they transferred her from Adrian's car to the gurney, as the medical team surrounded her with efficiency and care, Maya reached for Adrian's hand. Don't leave, she heard herself say. Please don't leave me alone. She didn't know why she was asking. Didn't know this man who'd appeared out of nowhere like an answer to a prayer she hadn't even known how to form. But Adrian's hand tightened around hers. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here when you wake up. I promise. And somehow, impossibly, Maya believed him. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we continue with Maya's story, and trust me, you need to hear what happens next, I want to say hello to all of you watching from around the world. Drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because this story is about what happens when you're at your absolute lowest point and someone sees you, really sees you, and decides you're worth saving. What unfolds between Maya and Adrian will restore your faith in humanity, make you believe in second chances, and show you that sometimes the worst day of your life is actually the beginning of everything you were meant to become. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. 26 hours earlier, Maya Santos had been someone completely different. She'd been a wife, a soon-to-be mother, a woman who'd spent 3 years believing that love meant sacrifice and compromise and making yourself smaller to fit into someone else's vision of what you should be. She'd met Derek Santos 4 years ago when she was working as a barista at a coffee shop near Columbia University. He'd been charming, attentive, persistent in the best way. He'd made her feel special at a time when she'd felt invisible. The girl who'd aged out of foster care at 18, worked 3 jobs to put herself through community college, dreamed of becoming a teacher but couldn't afford the 4-year degree. Derek had been in graduate school for business. He'd had plans, ambition, a future, and he'd wanted Maya to be part of it. You're going to be the woman behind my success, he'd told her. The one who makes home the place I want to return to, who gives me children and stability and everything those corporate climbers with their career wives can't have. It had sounded romantic at the time, like he was choosing her, like her value wasn't in having a degree or a career but in being his partner. They'd married 6 months after meeting. Maya had quit her barista job when Derek landed a position at a marketing firm. His salary was enough for both of them, he'd said. Her job was to make their apartment a home, to take care of things so he could focus on climbing. For the first year it had worked. Maya had cooked and cleaned and made herself useful. She'd taken free online courses in early childhood education because she still dreamed of teaching someday. She'd been happy. Then Derek had started working later, coming home smelling like perfume that wasn't hers, making comments about how other men's wives had careers and connections, how maybe Maya should do something more with her time than take online classes that wouldn't even lead to a degree. "You're not contributing," he'd said one night after too many drinks. "You're dead weight." Maya had gotten pregnant 3 months later. Not planned, not trying. Just one of those things that happened when you were young and in love and believed babies could fix the cracks forming in your foundation. Derek had been furious, then calculating, then resigned. "Fine, we'll have the baby. But Maya, you need to understand something. This baby needs to make you useful again, needs to give you purpose. Because right now, you're just taking up space in my life." The cruelty of it had taken Maya's breath away. But she'd been 4 months pregnant and terrified and had nowhere else to go. So she'd stayed. She'd stayed through his increasingly late nights and obvious affairs. Stayed through his criticism of her body as it changed with pregnancy. Stayed through his resentment that grew like a tumor in their marriage. She'd stayed because she'd had $47 in a bank account he controlled and no family to fall back on and a baby who needed stability more than dignity. Until yesterday, when Derek had come home at 2 p.m. with a woman Maya recognized from his Instagram. "This is Vanessa," he'd said without preamble. "She's moving in. You're moving out." Maya had stared at him, 9 months pregnant, ankles swollen, wearing one of his old t-shirts because nothing else fit anymore. "What? I'm done with this. Done with you. Done pretending this marriage was anything other than a mistake." Derek had pulled out his phone, showing her divorce papers he'd already filed. "You're getting nothing. The apartment is in my name. The furniture is mine. You brought nothing into this marriage and you're leaving with nothing. I'm pregnant with your baby. Prove it's mine. Get a paternity test. Then we'll talk about child support. Maybe." Derek had turned to Vanessa, who'd been smirking like this was all very entertaining. "Help her pack. I want her out in an hour. Derek, please. I have nowhere to go. The baby is due in 2 weeks. Not my problem anymore. Figure it out like the rest of the world figures things out. You've been a burden for 3 years. I'm done carrying you." Vanessa had thrown Maya's clothes into garbage bags, had laughed while doing it, had made comments about how pathetic it was that Maya had let herself go, had nothing to show for 3 years of marriage, had been stupid enough to think a man like Derek would stay with someone like her. An hour later, Maya had been standing on the street with 2 garbage bags of clothes, $47, and a baby about to be born into homelessness. She tried calling the few friends she still had from before Derek had isolated her. Numbers had been disconnected or changed. People had moved on, built lives that didn't include the woman who'd disappeared into a marriage and forgotten to maintain connections. She'd walked to a women's shelter, been turned away because they were at capacity and there was a 2-week waiting list. She'd tried a youth services office, been told she was too old to qualify and needed to try adult services. Adult services had sent her to 3 different buildings before closing time, each one directing her somewhere else. No one actually able to help a pregnant woman who needed immediate housing. By the time night had fallen, Maya had been exhausted, hungry, and starting to feel contractions she tried to tell herself were just Braxton Hicks. Just practice labor. Not the real thing. Not yet. Please not yet. But by 11 p.m., standing on that street corner in the rain after walking for hours because she had nowhere to sit, nowhere to rest, Maya had known. Her baby was coming. Right then. ready or not, with help or without it. And she'd prayed, to a God she wasn't sure existed, to the universe, to her mother who died when Maya was 8, for someone to see her, for someone to stop, for someone to care that she was dying on a Manhattan sidewalk with no one to remember her name. Adrian Cole had been that someone. And now, 3 hours after he'd found her, Maya lay in a hospital bed in the recovery ward, holding her daughter, healthy, perfect, 7 pounds and 6 ounces of miracle, while Adrian sat in the chair beside her bed looking like he'd personally overseen the entire delivery. He hadn't left, had stayed through all of it, had been there when Maya had given birth to her daughter in a rush of pain and relief and wonder, had been the first person besides the doctor to see the baby, had looked at Maya's newborn daughter with something that looked like awe. "She's beautiful," Adrian said now, his voice soft with wonder. "What are you going to name her?" Maya looked at her daughter, at the tiny perfect face, at the future she'd been so terrified about just hours ago. "Hope," she whispered. "Her name is Hope." "That's perfect." Adrian smiled, and it transformed his entire face from intimidating to approachable. "Hope Santos. She's going to do incredible things. If we survive long enough for her to grow up," Maya said quietly. "I don't have anywhere to go after this. Don't have money for the hospital bill. Don't have—" "The bill's paid," Adrian interrupted. "I took care of it." "What? No, I can't accept. It's done. Don't argue. You just gave birth. Your energy should be focused on that beautiful baby, not hospital administration." Adrian leaned forward slightly. "Maya, I need to ask you something. The man who threw you out, your husband, does he know you gave birth?" "I don't think so. I don't even know if he'd care." "He should care. He's legally responsible for child support regardless of his personal feelings." But more importantly, Adrian's eyes were serious now, focused. "Are you safe? If you go back to him, is there any chance he'll hurt you or Hope?" Maya thought about Derek's rage, his cruelty, the way he'd thrown her belongings into the street like they were garbage. "I'm not going back to him, ever. But I also don't have anywhere else to go. No family, no real friends anymore, no money, no job. I'm completely—" her voice broke. "I'm completely alone. Hope and I are completely alone." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. "I have a proposition, and before you answer, I want you to understand that there are no strings attached. No expectations. Just an offer of help between two people who happen to meet at the right moment." "What kind of proposition?" "I own a property in Upper Manhattan, a brownstone I renovated but don't use. It sits empty most of the year while I live in my main residence downtown. It has 4 bedrooms, a full kitchen, everything you'd need to take care of a newborn. I'd like to offer it to you, temporarily, until you get on your feet." Maya stared at him. "You want to give me a house?" "I want to give you a safe place to heal and take care of your daughter. There's a difference." Adrian pulled out his phone, showed her photos of a beautiful brownstone with original details and modern updates. "You'd have complete privacy. I wouldn't bother you. I'd just make sure you had what you needed: groceries, baby supplies, medical care for Hope. In exchange, you'd take time to recover from childbirth, figure out your next steps, maybe pursue that teaching degree you mentioned in the ambulance when you were high on pain medication." Maya felt her face flush. "I said that out loud? You said a lot of things, most of them very sweet and slightly incoherent. But yes, you mentioned wanting to teach someday, wanting to give children the stability you never had. Adrian's expression softened. That's a worthy dream, and I'd like to help you achieve it if you'll let me. Why? The question burst out. Why would you do this for a stranger? You don't know me. Don't know if I'm trustworthy or if I'll trash your brownstone or if… I know enough, Adrian interrupted. I know you're a woman who survived homelessness while 9 months pregnant, who gave birth in a hospital where you thought you'd have no one and still managed to name your daughter Hope, who's already asking how to repay kindness instead of just taking it. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. But there has to be something you want. Some reason you're doing this. Adrian was quiet for a moment, his eyes going distant. My mother died when I was 17. She'd spent years in an abusive relationship with my stepfather. He'd isolated her from family, controlled every aspect of her life, made her feel worthless. When she finally left him, she had nowhere to go. No one helped her. She ended up in a shelter that was overcrowded and unsafe. 2 weeks later, she was dead. The official cause was a drug overdose. But I know the truth. She was murdered by a system that didn't care about vulnerable women. Maya felt tears slip down her face. I'm so sorry. I've spent 20 years building wealth and influence. 20 years becoming the kind of person who could make a difference for people like my mother. People like you. Adrian met her eyes. You asked why I'm doing this. I'm doing it because I have the resources to help and you need help. That's the entire equation. No ulterior motives. No expectations. Just basic human decency. Maya looked at this man who'd appeared out of a rainstorm like an angel. This stranger who'd saved her life and her daughter's life and was now offering them a future. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I accept. Thank you. Adrian smiled. Good. Then rest. Recover. And when you and Hope are ready to leave the hospital, we'll get you settled in your new home. What neither of them knew was that Derek Santos had already discovered that Maya had given birth. That he'd shown up at the hospital demanding to see her and been turned away by security Adrian had hired. That Derek had seen the expensive lawyers, the private room, the name Adrian Cole attached to all of it. And that Derek, who'd thrown Maya away thinking she was worthless, was about to discover he'd discarded someone who'd caught the attention of one of the most powerful men in New York. The war was about to begin. But this time, Maya wouldn't be fighting alone. The brownstone on West 120th Street was nothing like Maya had imagined. From the outside, it looked like every other historic building on the tree-lined street. Elegant, understated, the kind of place she'd walked past 1,000 times and never thought she'd enter. But inside, it was a masterpiece of restoration. Original hardwood floors refinished to gleaming perfection. Crown molding that spoke of craftsmanship from another era. Modern kitchen with appliances Maya had only seen in magazines. Large windows that let in streams of natural light. And in the nursery on the second floor, everything a baby could need, delivered and assembled while Maya had been recovering in the hospital. A crib, a changing table, diapers and wipes and clothes in newborn sizes, a rocking chair positioned by the window, soft blankets and gentle mobiles and more supplies than Maya could process. I had my assistant coordinate with the hospital staff about what you'd need, Adrian explained, standing in the doorway while Maya held Hope and stared at the room in disbelief. If there's anything missing or anything you'd prefer different, just let me know. This is too much, Maya whispered, her voice thick with emotion. All of this, I can't possibly. Yes, you can, and you will. Adrian's tone was gentle but firm. Maya, I need you to understand something. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Using a fraction of it to help you and hope isn't charity. It's the most meaningful thing I've spent money on in years. But I don't have any way to pay you back. I don't have skills or connections or anything valuable to offer. Stop. Adrian stepped into the room, his expression serious. I'm going to tell you something my mother told me when I was young. She said, "The world will try to convince you that your worth is measured by your productivity, by what you can do for others, by how useful you are. Don't believe it. Your worth is inherent. You exist, therefore you matter. Everything else is just noise." Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. Your mother sounds like she was amazing. She was. And she would have loved helping someone like you. Someone fighting to give their child a better life than they had. Adrian pulled a set of keys from his pocket, placed them on the changing table. This is your home now, for as long as you need it. The only rule is that you focus on healing and taking care of hope. That's it. No other expectations. After Adrian left, Maya walked through the brownstone holding hope, still unable to believe this was real. That 24 hours ago she'd been homeless and giving birth on a sidewalk, and now she was standing in a beautiful home with everything she needed. The master bedroom had a king-sized bed with soft linens. The bathroom had a deep tub and expensive toiletries. The kitchen was stocked with food, healthy options for a nursing mother, formula just in case, snacks and meals that just needed to be heated. In the living room, Maya found a laptop on the coffee table with a note in Adrian's precise handwriting. For researching teaching programs when you're ready. Password is Hope 2024. The internet is set up and paid for. Use it for whatever you need. AC Maya sat on the couch, Hope sleeping in her arms, and let herself cry. Not from sadness or fear this time, from overwhelming gratitude and the strange, unfamiliar feeling of being cared for. Adrian Cole's penthouse apartment in Tribeca was minimalist, modern, and completely at odds with the warmth of the brownstone he'd given Maya. He preferred it that way. The penthouse was functional, a place to sleep and work, not a home. He hadn't had a real home since his mother died. Now, at 38, he'd built an empire that made him one of the wealthiest men in America, but he lived like a monk, worked 18-hour days, avoided social events, dated rarely and briefly, kept people at arm's length because getting close meant risking the kind of pain he'd felt when he'd lost his mother. His assistant, Thomas Morrison, was one of the few people who'd managed to penetrate Adrian's walls. They'd been friends since college, and Thomas understood that Adrian's reclusiveness wasn't antisocial behavior. It was self-protection. "You gave her the brownstone," Thomas said now, standing in Adrian's home office reviewing the day's schedule. "The one your mother loved. The one you've kept empty for 15 years because you couldn't bring yourself to sell it or live in it. It should be used. She needs it. It's logical." Adrian didn't look up from his computer screen. "It's emotional, and that's okay. You're allowed to care about people, Adrian. I care from a distance. It's safer that way." "Is it? Or is it just lonely?" Thomas sat down across from Adrian's desk. "Tell me about her. About Maya. Who is she beyond the woman you saved?" Adrian was quiet for a moment, then closed his laptop. "She's 25, aged out of foster care at 18. No family. Her mother died when she was 8. Father was never in the picture. She worked 3 jobs to put herself through community college. Wanted to be a teacher but couldn't afford to finish her degree. How do you know all that?" "She told me during the drive to the hospital, between contractions. She was terrified and in pain and somehow still apologizing for bleeding on my car seats. Adrian's voice softened. She told me about her mother, how she'd been a kindergarten teacher, how Maya used to sit in her classroom after school and watch her work with the kids. That's why she wanted to teach, to honor her mother's memory. And the husband? Derek Santos, 31, works in marketing at Brennan and Associates. They've been married 3 years. He filed for divorce yesterday, claiming irreconcilable differences. Threw her out while she was 9 months pregnant. Adrian's expression hardened. I ran a background check. He's got a history. 2 previous relationships that ended with restraining orders filed against him. Accusations of emotional abuse. Financial control. The pattern is clear. So you saved her from him. I saved her from dying on a street corner. What happens next is up to her. Adrian pulled up security footage on his computer. But Derek showed up at the hospital last night. Demanded to see Maya. Security turned him away per my instructions. He's going to be a problem. You've dealt with bigger problems. Not ones involving a woman I actually care about protecting. The admission slipped out before Adrian could stop it. Thomas raised an eyebrow. You care about her. After knowing her for 1 day. I care about making sure she and her baby are safe. There's a difference. Is there? Thomas smiled knowingly. Adrian, I've known you for 20 years. I've never seen you give someone the brownstone. Never seen you pay this much attention to anyone who wasn't a business associate or threat. You care about this woman. It's okay to admit it. Adrian was saved from responding by his phone ringing. The hospital. Mr. Cole, this is Dr. Mitchell. I wanted to update you on Maya's discharge. She's cleared medically to leave today, but I have concerns about her mental state. She's showing signs of postpartum depression and trauma response. I've referred her to a therapist, but she'll need support. Close monitoring. Is there someone in her life who can provide that? I'll handle it, Adrian said immediately. Send me the therapist's information. I'll make sure she has transportation to appointments and whatever else she needs. After hanging up, Adrian looked at Thomas, who was watching him with barely concealed amusement. Don't say it, Adrian warned. I don't need to. You just did. Thomas stood. Just be careful, Adrian. She's vulnerable. You're powerful. Make sure whatever help you're giving comes from the right place. It does. I'm helping her the way I wish someone had helped my mother. That's all. But even as he said it, Adrian knew it wasn't entirely true. There was something about Maya, her strength, her dignity, the way she'd named her daughter Hope even after everything she'd been through, that had gotten under his skin in a way he didn't entirely understand. He told himself it was just compassion, just making sure history didn't repeat itself. But the truth was more complicated. And Adrian Cole, who'd built his fortune on understanding complex systems, had no idea how to navigate the simple human emotion of caring about someone. Derek Santos stared at the laptop screen in his cramped studio apartment, the place he'd moved to after Vanessa had kicked him out when she discovered he was actually broke and the nice apartment had been in Maya's name from a housing lottery she'd won before they'd married. On the screen was everything he'd found about Adrian Cole in the past 12 hours. Net worth, $8.7 billion. Primary wealth from Cole Industries, a conglomerate spanning technology, real estate, and venture capital. Age 38. Never married. Notoriously private. Rumored to be ruthless in business but surprisingly philanthropic, though he donated anonymously to avoid publicity. The kind of man who could destroy Derek's life with a phone call. The kind of man who was apparently protecting Derek's wife. Ex-wife Derek corrected himself. The divorce would be final in 6 months. Except now Derek was realizing what a massive mistake he'd made. He'd thrown out Maya thinking she was worthless. Thinking he could trade up to Vanessa, who'd had family money and connections. But Vanessa's family money had turned out to be debt and delusions. She dumped Derek the moment she'd realized he couldn't actually afford the lifestyle he'd been presenting. And now Maya, pathetic, useless Maya who'd brought nothing to their marriage, had somehow landed on her feet, had given birth in what the hospital staff had described as a private wing reserved for VIP patients, had been visited by lawyers and doctors and staff who clearly knew who Adrian Cole was and treated Maya like royalty by association. Derek had been turned away by security who'd looked at him like he was trash. Him, the man who'd supported Maya for 3 years, who'd given her a home and a life she couldn't have afforded on her own. "This is bullshit," Derek muttered, scrolling through more articles about Adrian Cole. "She doesn't deserve this. Doesn't deserve him." His phone rang. His mother. "Derek, I just heard you threw out your pregnant wife. Please tell me the gossip is wrong." "It's not gossip, Ma. We're getting divorced. She was dead weight. I had to cut her loose." "Dead weight? She was pregnant with your baby. What kind of man throws out his pregnant wife? The kind who's not going to be tied down by someone who brings nothing to the table. I'm moving on. Building a better life. In that studio apartment you can barely afford? With no job because you got fired for poor performance? You're doing great, Derek. Really living the dream." His mother's voice was heavy with sarcasm and disappointment. "Your father and I raised you better than this. You raised me to be successful, to not settle." Maya was settling. Maya was a good woman who loved you, and now she's with some billionaire who's treating her better in 2 days than you treated her in 3 years. How does that feel? How do you know about... Derek felt his stomach drop. How do you know about Adrian Cole? It's all over the neighborhood. Maya's old friend Jessica saw her at the hospital. Saw the private room and the security and the man who apparently saved her life. Word spreads, Derek. And everyone's saying the same thing. Maya got lucky when you threw her out. Lucky she escaped you. The call ended with his mother hanging up on him, leaving Derek staring at his phone in impotent fury. Everyone thought Maya had gotten lucky. Everyone thought he was the bad guy. No one understood that he'd been the one trapped. The one who'd sacrificed 3 years trying to make a marriage work with someone beneath his potential. And now that same woman was living in luxury while he was struggling to make rent. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. Derek opened a new browser tab, typed Adrian Cole contact information, and started planning his next move. If Maya thought she could just walk away into a better life, she was wrong. She was still his wife for 6 more months, still legally tied to him, and Derek was going to make sure Adrian Cole understood exactly what kind of woman he was protecting. A gold digger, a manipulator, someone who'd trapped Derek with a pregnancy and was now doing the same thing to a billionaire. Derek would expose her, ruin her, make sure she ended up exactly where she belonged, alone and suffering. He had no idea that Adrian Cole had already anticipated this move, had already prepared for Derek's inevitable retaliation, and that the war Derek was about to start was one he'd lose before he even understood the rules. That evening, Maya's first night in the brownstone, she sat in the nursery rocking hope while night fell over the city. A knock on the door startled her. She checked the security system Adrian had showed her how to use. The screen showed Adrian himself standing on the front steps holding what looked like food containers. Maya buzzed him in. met him at the door still holding Hope. "I brought dinner," Adrian said, holding up the bags. "I wasn't sure if you'd had time to cook, and new mothers need to eat. It's from a place nearby. Nothing fancy, just good food. You didn't have to do that." "I know. I wanted to." He hesitated at the threshold. "May I come in? Or is this intrusive? I don't want to overstep." "No, please. Come in. I've been alone all day and I'm starting to talk to Hope like she can answer me." Maya stepped back, letting him enter. They sat in the kitchen, Hope sleeping in the bassinet Adrian had positioned nearby. Adrian unpacked containers of Thai food, soup, fresh bread, and fruit. "How are you feeling?" he asked as they ate. "Physically, I mean, Dr. Mitchell said you were cleared to leave, but that I should watch for signs of postpartum depression."
"I'm okay."
"Sore, tired, but okay." Maya paused. "Actually, that's not true."
"I'm overwhelmed."
"Scared, grateful, confused about why you're doing all this, and terrified that any moment I'm going to wake up and this will all be a dream and I'll be back on that street corner." "It's not a dream. You're safe here. Both of you. But why? I keep asking myself why you stopped, why you're helping, and I can't figure out an answer that makes sense." Adrian was quiet for a moment, his fingers tracing patterns on the table. "My mother's name was Catherine. She was a teacher like you want to be. She married my biological father when she was 22. He was abusive, violent. By the time I was born, she was already trapped." Maya listened, not interrupting, sensing Adrian needed to tell the story. "He died when I was 10.
Car accident.
My mother thought we were free. We were for about 3 years. Then she met my stepfather, Richard. He was charming at first, made her feel safe. But once they were married, he became exactly like my father. Controlling, cruel. He didn't hit her, but he destroyed her in other ways. Isolated her from friends, controlled money, made her feel worthless. Like Derek did to me," Maya said quietly. "Exactly like Derek did to you. When I was 17, my mother finally left Richard. She had nothing. No money, no support system, no family. She ended up in a shelter. 2 weeks later, she was dead. Overdose, they said. But I know Richard found her. No, he gave her the drugs. No, he killed her as surely as if he'd put his hands around her throat. I'm so sorry, Adrian. I've spent 20 years building wealth and power so I'd never be helpless again. So I could help people like my mother when I found them. And when I saw you on that street corner," his voice broke slightly, "I saw her, saw what would have happened if someone had stopped for her, had helped, had given her a chance to rebuild." Maya reached across the table, took his hand. "You saved my life, and Hope's life. I will never forget that. I'm not looking for gratitude. I'm looking to make sure history doesn't repeat itself." Adrian squeezed her hand gently. "But I need to tell you something. Derek showed up at the hospital. He's going to cause problems. Try to claim parental rights or custody. Try to make your life difficult. I know. I've been expecting it." Maya pulled her hand back, wrapped her arms around herself. "He's not going to let me go this easily. He's going to punish me for leaving, for surviving without him. Then we make sure you're protected. Legally, financially, physically. I have lawyers who specialize in family law. Security who can ensure he doesn't come near you. Resources to fight whatever he throws at you. I can't afford lawyers. You're not paying. I am. Consider it part of the help I'm offering. Maya looked at this man who'd appeared in her life like an answer to prayers she hadn't known how to voice. Why do I feel like I'm going to fall in love with you if I'm not careful? The words were out before she could stop them. Maya's face flushed.
I'm sorry.
That was inappropriate. I'm vulnerable and you're being kind and I'm projecting. Don't apologize. Adrian's voice was soft. And for the record, I'm trying very hard not to fall for you too. You're recovering from trauma. I'm your benefactor. There's a power imbalance. It would be wrong to. But you feel it too, Maya interrupted. This pull, this connection. I feel something I don't entirely understand. But Maya, you need time to heal, to figure out who you are outside of Derek's abuse, to become stable. And I need to make sure I'm helping you for the right reasons. Not because I'm lonely. Not because you remind me of my mother. Not because I'm trying to fill some void. So what do we do? We be honest. We acknowledge this thing between us. And we give it time. We let you heal. We make sure you and Hope are safe. We deal with Derek. And after all that, if there's still something here, we explore it. As equals. Not as savior and victim. Maya nodded, feeling both disappointed and relieved. That's very mature and rational. I'm good at mature and rational. What I'm not good at is feelings. So this is new territory for me too. Adrian stood. I should go. Let you rest. But I'll check in tomorrow. And if you need anything at all, call me. Day or night. After he left, Maya sat in the quiet brownstone holding Hope and thinking about the strange turns life could take. 24 hours ago, she'd been dying. Now she was safe, protected, and potentially falling for a billionaire who seemed equally terrified and drawn to her. It was messy and complicated and exactly the opposite of what she should be feeling after just escaping an abusive marriage. But it was also real, and honest, and full of possibility. For the first time in 3 years, Maya felt like herself again. Not Derek's wife. Not the woman trying to be small enough to fit into his life. Just Maya. Mother. Survivor. Woman who'd been given a second chance. And she was gonna make damn sure she didn't waste it. Derek's attack came exactly 2 weeks after Hope was born, in the form of an emergency custody petition filed with family court. Maya was nursing Hope in the nursery when Adrian called, his voice tight with controlled anger. Derek filed for full custody. He's claiming you're an unfit mother, that you abandoned your marriage, are living with a man you just met, and are in an unstable mental state due to postpartum depression. Adrian paused. There's a hearing scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m. My lawyers are already preparing. But Maya, you need to be ready for this to get ugly. Maya felt her hands start to shake. He wants to take Hope? He wants to hurt you. The custody petition is just the weapon he's chosen. But we're not going to let him win. Adrian's voice gentled. I'm coming over. We need to prepare your testimony. And Maya, you're going to have to face him in court tomorrow. Are you ready for that? I don't have a choice, do I? There's always a choice. But yes, fighting for Hope means facing Derek. An hour later, Adrian arrived with 2 lawyers, Catherine Morrison and James Chun, partners at one of New York's most prestigious family law firms. Catherine was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense. Mrs. Santos, I've reviewed Derek's petition. It's full of holes and assumptions. He's claiming you're unfit based on speculation, not evidence. We can fight this and win. But I need you to be honest with me about everything. Can you do that? Over the next 3 hours, Maya told them everything. About Derek's emotional abuse, his affairs, The financial control. The way he'd thrown her out while she was 9 months pregnant. The history she'd discovered of restraining orders from his ex-girlfriends. "This is good," James said, taking notes. "This establishes a pattern of abuse and abandonment. He threw you out, you had nowhere to go. Mr. Cole provided temporary housing. That's not instability. That's survival." "What about the postpartum depression?" Maya asked. "He's right about that. Dr. Mitchell diagnosed me. I'm in therapy. Postpartum depression doesn't make you unfit. It makes you human. And the fact that you're in treatment shows responsibility." Catherine pulled out documents. "We have Dr. Mitchell's full evaluation. She's willing to testify that you're bonding well with Hope, following all medical advice, and actively working on your mental health. That's the opposite of unfit." "Derek's going to paint Mr. Cole as a predator," James added. "Going to suggest that you're being manipulated or coerced. We need to be ready for that narrative." Adrian, who'd been quiet during most of the preparation, spoke up. "Then we make it clear that I'm helping Maya the same way I help dozens of women through my foundation. That she's one of many beneficiaries of charitable work I do privately. Take the romance and scandal out of it entirely." "Is that true?" Catherine asked. "Do you have a foundation that helps domestic violence survivors?" "I will by tomorrow morning. I'll have my lawyers draft the paperwork tonight. The Cole Foundation for Domestic Violence Survivors. Maya will be listed as a beneficiary receiving housing assistance. Completely above board." Maya looked at Adrian. At the man who was creating an entire charitable foundation overnight just to protect her from her ex-husband's narrative. "You'd do that?" "I do a lot more than that to keep Hope safe." Adrian met her eyes. "Derek doesn't get to win. Not this time. Not ever." The family court hearing the next day was held in a small, windowless room that smelled like old coffee and desperation. Derek sat with a court-appointed lawyer he clearly couldn't afford, wearing a suit that didn't quite fit. When Maya walked in with Adrian and her legal team, Derek's face cycled through shock, rage, and barely concealed jealousy. "All rise for Judge Patricia Morrison," the bailiff announced. Judge Morrison was 63, black, with a reputation for being tough on deadbeat fathers and sympathetic to mothers. Maya felt a small flicker of hope. "Mr. Santos, you've filed for emergency full custody of a 2-week-old infant currently in her mother's care. Explain why this is necessary." Judge Morrison's voice was sharp, cutting. Derek's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client has concerns about the child's welfare. Mrs. Santos is living with a man she barely knows, Mr. Adrian Cole. She has no income, no stable housing of her own, and has been diagnosed with postpartum depression. Mr. Santos believes the child would be better served in his care." "Mr. Santos's care? And where does Mr. Santos currently live?" "In a studio apartment in Queens, Your Honor." "Does this studio apartment have a nursery? Supplies for an infant?" "Well, no. But does Mr. Santos have any experience caring for a newborn?" "He's the father." "That's not what I asked. Does he have experience? Has he changed a diaper? Fed a baby? Handled night wakings?" Judge Morrison looked at Derek directly. "Mr. Santos, answer the question." Derek stood, his jaw tight. "No, Your Honor, but I'm willing to learn. I'm the father. I have rights. You also have responsibilities. Let's discuss those." Judge Morrison pulled up documents on her computer. "According to hospital records, you did not attend the birth of your daughter. Did not visit her in the hospital. have not provided any financial support. Is this accurate? I was told I wasn't allowed at the hospital. Security turned me away because Mrs. Santos had a restraining order against you based on domestic abandonment, an order you didn't contest. Judge Morrison turned to Maya's lawyers. Counsel, present your case. Catherine stood, composed and devastating. Your Honor, Derek Santos threw his 9 months pregnant wife out of their home during a rainstorm. She went into labor on the street and nearly died. She had no family, no resources, nowhere to go. Mr. Cole, through his charitable foundation, provided emergency housing assistance. The same assistance he provides to dozens of domestic violence survivors annually. She presented documents. The Cole Foundation paperwork, filed and official. Letters from Dr. Mitchell attesting to Maya's excellent care of Hope. Photos of the nursery in the brownstone. Bank statements showing Adrian had no financial connection to Maya beyond the foundation's charitable work. Mrs. Santos is attending therapy twice weekly for postpartum depression. She's nursing successfully. Hope is healthy, meeting all developmental milestones, and bonding beautifully with her mother. There is no evidence of unfitness, only evidence of a mother doing everything right despite surviving abuse. Your Honor, if I may, James added, we'd also like to submit evidence of Mr. Santos's history, restraining orders filed by 2 previous partners, a pattern of emotional abuse and financial control. Testimony from Maya's doctors about the trauma she endured in the marriage. Judge Morrison reviewed everything in silence for several minutes. Then she looked at Derek with open disgust. Mr. Santos, you threw your pregnant wife into the street. You have no nursery, no experience with infants, no support system to help you care for a newborn. You've provided no financial support and made no effort to be part of this child's life until you discovered her mother had found stability. This petition is denied. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Furthermore, I'm granting Mrs. Santos full legal and physical custody. You'll have supervised visitation rights only, pending completion of a parenting class and anger management counseling. You'll also pay child support, the amount to be determined based on your income. This hearing is adjourned. Derek exploded. This is bullshit. She's living with a stranger. She's using my daughter to get to a billionaire's money. This is... Mr. Santos, one more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt. Control yourself or leave my courtroom. Judge Morrison's voice could have frozen fire. Derek stormed out, his lawyers scrambling after him. Maya sat in stunned silence, holding Hope, unable to process that it was over, that she'd won. You did it, Adrian said quietly beside her. Hope is yours, legally, officially yours. We did it, Maya corrected. I couldn't have fought him without you. Outside the courtroom, Derek was waiting. He lunged at Maya the moment she emerged, security barely catching him in time. You think you've won? He snarled, held back by guards. You think he actually cares about you? He's using you, Maya, just like I did. Except when he's done, you'll have nothing again. And I'll be waiting. Adrian stepped between Maya and Derek, his voice deadly calm. Come near her again. Threaten her again. Even think about her or Hope again. And I'll use every resource I have to ensure you spend significant time in jail. That's not a threat, Derek. That's a promise. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm the man who saved your wife's life while you threw her away. I'm the man who'll make sure she never needs anything from you again. And I'm the man who just ensured you'll never have power over her. Adrian pulled out his phone, showed Derek the screen. That's the child support calculation based on your actual income. You'll be paying $600 a month. Every month. For the next 18 years. Miss a payment and you'll face legal consequences. Now get out of my sight before I forget I'm a civilized person. Security escorted Derek from the building while he shouted threats and obscenities. Maya stood holding hope, shaking from adrenaline and relief and residual fear. He's going to keep trying, she said quietly. Keep finding ways to hurt me. Let him try. Every time he does, we'll document it. Build a case. Eventually he'll either give up or dig himself into a hole he can't climb out of. Adrian touched her shoulder gently. You're safe, Maya. I won't let him near you. That night, after Hope was asleep, Maya and Adrian sat in the Brownstones' living room, both of them emotionally exhausted from the day. I created a foundation because of you, Adrian said, staring into his wine glass. Made it real when it could have just been a legal fiction. And now I'm thinking about all the other women like you, like my mother, who need help and have nowhere to turn. You should do it. Really do it. You have the resources and the heart for it. Would you help? When you're ready, when Hope is older, would you consider working with the foundation, helping other survivors? Maya felt something shift in her chest. Purpose, direction, a future beyond just surviving. Yes, she said. I'd like that. I'd like to turn what happened to me into something that helps others. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Adrian spoke again. I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear it without feeling pressured or obligated. Okay. I'm falling in love with you, have been since I found you in the rain. And I know the timing is terrible and the power dynamic is complicated and you need time to heal. But I can't keep pretending I'm just your benefactor when every time I see you with Hope, every time you smile, every time you show that incredible strength, I fall a little more. Maya felt tears slip down her face. Adrian, you don't have to say anything. I just needed to be honest. We can still take this slow. Still give you time. I just couldn't keep lying about what I feel. I'm falling for you too, Maya admitted. And it terrifies me because 3 months ago I was married to a man who made me feel worthless. How do I trust that this is real? That you're real? That I'm not just trauma bonded to the person who saved me? You get therapy. You heal. You become independent. Financially, emotionally, all of it. And then, when you're whole again, when you're choosing me from a place of strength instead of need, we see if this is still real. Adrian set down his wine glass. I'm not going anywhere, Maya. Whether we end up together or just friends. I'm committed to making sure you and Hope have everything you need. What if I can't ever separate you, saving me from loving you? What if those things are always tangled together? Then we figure it out. Together. Honestly. He reached for her hand. But first you focus on you. On Hope. On finishing that teaching degree. On becoming the woman you want to be. Not Derek's wife. Not my charity case. Just Maya. Whoever she is when she's free to choose. Maya squeezed his hand, feeling the warmth and strength in it. Thank you for everything, for seeing me, for stopping, for this. Thank you for letting me help, for trusting me, for being brave enough to survive. They sat holding hands in the quiet brownstone, both of them knowing they were building something neither quite understood yet. Something fragile and powerful and worth protecting. Upstairs, Hope slept peacefully, safe and loved and completely unaware that her mother had just won the first major battle in a war that would define both their futures. Derek had lost the custody fight, But men like Derek didn't accept loss gracefully, and his next move would be far more dangerous than a court petition. The threatening messages started 3 days after the custody hearing. Unknown numbers sending texts at all hours. Your daughter deserves a real father. You'll regret taking her from me. That billionaire can't protect you forever. Maya reported them to the police, but without explicit threats, there was nothing they could do. Change your number, they advised. Install better security. Be vigilant. Adrian did more than that. He hired a full-time security detail. Former Secret Service agent Marcus Webb became Maya's shadow, driving her to therapy appointments, watching the brownstone, running background checks on anyone who came near her. This is excessive, Maya protested when Marcus appeared for the 3rd day in a row. Derek's just trying to scare me. He won't actually do anything. Men like Derek escalate, Marcus said firmly. They start with messages. Then they show up in person. Then they do something that can't be undone. I'm not leaving your safety to chance. Adrian agreed. Marcus stays. Non negotiable. But even with security, Maya felt Derek's presence like a weight. The messages continued. Then flowers appeared on the brownstone's doorstep with cards that read "Missing my girls." Then Derek started showing up places Maya went: the pediatrician's office, the coffee shop 2 blocks away, the park where she took Hope for walks. Never close enough to violate the restraining order. Always just visible enough to remind her he was watching. He's trying to make you feel trapped, her therapist, Dr. Lisa Park, explained. Trying to regain the control he lost. The best thing you can do is document everything and refuse to engage. Maya tried, but the constant vigilance was exhausting. She started having nightmares about Derek breaking into the brownstone. Started jumping at every sound. The postpartum depression that had been improving began creeping back. Adrian noticed immediately. You're not sleeping. You're barely eating. This isn't sustainable. I'm fine. You're not, and that's okay. But we need to do something. Adrian pulled out his phone. I have a house in the Hamptons. Private. Gated. Staff who've worked for me for years. I think you and Hope should go there for a while. Get away from the city. Away from Derek's harassment. Running away won't solve this. It's not running. It's strategic retreat while my legal team builds a stalking and harassment case. We need documentation, patterns, evidence. That takes time. In the meantime, you need peace. Maya looked at Hope, sleeping in her bassinet, blissfully unaware of the danger circling them. Okay, she agreed. We'll go. The Hamptons estate was everything the brownstone wasn't. Sprawling, modern, surrounded by manicured grounds and ocean views. Maya spent 3 weeks there, and for the first time since Hope's birth, she felt like she could breathe. She painted again, setting up an easel on the back terrace while Hope napped. She took long walks on the private beach. She video called Adrian every evening, their conversations stretching for hours as they talked about everything and nothing. You look better, Adrian said one night, his face on her laptop screen. The shadows under your eyes are fading. I feel better. This place is healing. Maya paused. When are you coming out? You said you would this weekend. I am. I'll be there Friday afternoon. I have something I want to show you. What? It's a surprise. A good one. Trust me. Friday arrived with perfect beach weather. Adrian showed up at 2 p.m. carrying a briefcase and wearing casual clothes Maya had never seen him in. Jeans and a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. You look different, Maya said, opening the door with Hope on her hip. I look human. It happens occasionally. Adrian smiled, then held up the briefcase. Ready for your surprise? He led her to the dining room, spread papers across the table. I've been working with Columbia University's continuing education program. They offer a completion program for students who have some college credits but didn't finish their degree. You have 63 credits from your community college. You need 57 more to graduate with a bachelor's in education. Maya stared at the papers. I don't understand. I'm offering you a scholarship. Full tuition, books, childcare while you're in class. The program is flexible, online and in-person options. You can start this fall. Finish in 2 years. Get your teaching degree. Adrian, this is too much. It's not. The Cole Foundation's mission is to help survivors rebuild their lives. Education is rebuilding. And Maya, you were meant to teach. Let me help you get there. Maya felt tears streaming down her face. You're giving me my dream. My mother's dream. I'm giving you an opportunity. You're the one who'll do the work. Who'll earn the degree. I'm just removing the financial barriers. Adrian pulled out another document. There's something else. I've set up a trust for hope. $2 million that she'll get access to at 25. For college, starting a business, whatever she needs. No matter what happens between us, no matter what Derek does, Hope's future is secured. Why? Maya's voice broke. Why are you doing all of this? Because I love you. Because I love Hope. Because I have resources and you need help, and those two things should equal action. Adrian took her hand. And because when I see you painting or taking care of Hope or fighting through your trauma to become stronger, I see the woman I want to spend my life with. But I need you to see her too. Need you to believe in yourself the way I believe in you. Maya set Hope in her bassinet, then turned back to Adrian. I'm falling in love with you. Real love. Not gratitude. Not trauma bonding. Real, complicated, terrifying love. I know. I feel it too. But I'm scared. Scared I'll mess this up. Scared I'm not healed enough. Scared Derek will destroy this before it has a chance to grow. Derek doesn't get a vote in our lives anymore. Adrian pulled her close. And Maya, you don't have to be completely healed to be loved. You just have to be honest about what you're feeling, what you need, what you're afraid of. Can you do that? I can try. They kissed for the first time, gentle and tentative and full of promise. And for those few perfect moments, Maya forgot about Derek and fear and all the reasons this was complicated. She just felt loved, cherished, safe. Then Marcus burst through the door, his expression grim. We have a problem. Derek just posted bail. He was arrested this morning for violating the restraining order, showed up at the brownstone trying to break in. Made bail an hour ago. And Maya, he knows you're here. Posted on social media asking if anyone knew where Coles Hampton's house was located. The piece shattered. Adrian was on his phone immediately. I'm calling local police. Getting additional security. Derek's not getting near you. But Marcus was already at the window, his body tense. He's here. Black sedan just pulled up to the gate. That's him. Maya grabbed Hope, her heart hammering. Through the window, she could see Derek at the security gate, pressing the intercom, his face twisted with rage even from a distance. Let me in. Derek's voice came through the intercom system. I have a right to see my daughter. You can't keep her from me. He's drunk, Marcus observed. Or high. Look at the way he's moving. Adrian was already on the phone with 911. I need police at 47 Dune Road immediately. Violent ex-husband violating a restraining order and trespassing on private property. Derek started climbing the gate. "He's coming over," Marcus said, pulling out a weapon Maya hadn't known he carried. "Mrs. Santos, take Hope upstairs. Lock yourself in the master bedroom. Don't come out until I tell you it's safe." Maya ran. Hope clutched to her chest, taking the stairs two at a time. Behind her, she heard Derek screaming, the sound of the gate alarm, Adrian shouting. In the master bedroom, Maya locked the door, shoved a chair under the handle, and huddled in the bathroom with Hope, her whole body shaking. This was it. The escalation everyone had warned her about. Derek had snapped completely, and now he was coming for them with nothing left to lose. Downstairs, she heard crashes, shouting, Marcus's calm voice ordering Derek to stop, Adrian's voice, commanding and furious. Then a sound that made her blood freeze. A single gunshot. Silence. Maya held Hope tighter, praying, bargaining with God, promising anything if they could just be safe. Footsteps on the stairs. Maya stopped breathing. A knock on the door. "Maya, it's Adrian. It's over. You're safe. Open the door." She didn't move. Couldn't trust her own ears. "Maya, sweetheart, it's me. Hope needs to hear that everything's okay. Can you open the door so I can show you it's safe?" That got through. Maya unlocked the door with shaking hands. Adrian stood there, unharmed, his expression a mix of relief and residual fear. Derek's in custody. Marcus fired a warning shot when Derek charged at him with a tire iron. Police arrived 30 seconds later. He's been arrested for multiple felonies: breaking and entering, violating a restraining order, assault with a deadly weapon, trespassing. He's really arrested? He can't make bail again. Not this time. The judge will deny bail given the escalation. And Maya, with these charges plus the stalking evidence we've compiled, Derek's looking at serious prison time. Years. He's done. Maya sank onto the bed, still holding Hope, and started crying. Not from fear anymore. From relief. From the overwhelming realization that the nightmare was actually ending. Adrian sat beside her, wrapped his arms around both of them. "It's over. He can't hurt you anymore. You're safe. Hope's safe. I promise." And this time Maya believed him completely. 2 hours later, after police had taken statements and left, after Marcus had secured the property and the adrenaline had finally faded, Maya and Adrian sat on the beach watching the sunset while Hope slept in her carrier between them. "I thought he was going to kill you," Maya said quietly. "When I heard that gunshot, I thought I'd lost you." Marcus is former Secret Service. He knew exactly what he was doing. Derek never got close. But he could have. This could have ended so differently. But it didn't. We're here. All three of us. Safe. Adrian took her hand. And Derek is going to spend a long time in prison thinking about the choices that led him here. I don't feel sorry for him. You shouldn't. He earned every consequence coming his way. Maya looked at this man who'd saved her life multiple times now, who'd protected her and her daughter with every resource he had, who'd seen her at her absolute worst and still offered her a future. "I love you," she said. "I'm still scared, still healing, still figuring out who I am outside of Derek's abuse. But I love you, and I want to try, really try, to build something real with you. I love you too. And Maya, we have time. All the time in the world. Derek's not a threat anymore. You can heal at your own pace. Figure out your life. Go to school. Become a teacher. And I'll be here, supporting you, loving you, waiting for you to be ready. What if I'm ready now? Not for everything, but for this, for us, for trying. Adrian smiled, leaned over Hope's carrier, and kissed Maya with the ocean waves crashing behind them and the future wide open ahead. Then let's try, he said, together. And in that moment, Maya knew with absolute certainty that she'd survived the worst and found the best. That Hope would grow up knowing love that protected instead of controlled. That second chances were real. And that sometimes the worst night of your life was actually the beginning of everything beautiful. Derek received 7 years in prison. 2 years later, Maya graduated with her teaching degree, Adrian and Hope cheering loudest at commencement. That evening, Adrian proposed in the brownstone where he'd first given her shelter. They married surrounded by the family Maya had built. Friends, colleagues, Hope's godparents. Maya taught kindergarten, transforming young lives the way her mother once had. Derek had thrown her away thinking she was worthless. He'd actually set her free to become priceless. Thank you for joining Maya's journey from despair to hope. If this story reminded you that you're never too broken for second chances, that real love protects and empowers, and that your worst moment can lead to your greatest blessing, please comment below. Remember, you are worthy of love that heals, not harms. You deserve protection, not control. And when someone throws you away, it's not a reflection of your value. It's a revelation of their blindness. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because I have many more stories about resilience, second chances, and the transformative power of genuine love. You are seen. You are valued. You are never alone. Until next time, choose courage. Choose healing. And never forget that your story isn't over. Sometimes it's just beginning. See you in the next story.